Hello and welcome. What we're going to be looking at in this video is we're going to be looking at how you construct an argument where you've used critical thinking and where you're interpreting your own ideas. So basically, when you're constructing an argument, you need to not only think critically, but you need to give more than your indication of what you think. So you can't just say, like this little fella is, that it stinks. You need to actually then develop it and go, well, why? And you also need to sort of qualify it with information, evidence, and reasons why you believe what you believe. Now, of course, in an essay, for instance, you won't be able to use words like I or I think because you're trying to write objectively. And through objective reasoning, you're basically using your discussion analysis such a way that you're proving your critical interpretation as being correct. Now, even if you're not necessarily writing an essay, and not all critical thinking responses are essays, then you still need to be sort of using some sort of objective reasoning, as in you're trying to prove your ideas through facts and not just simply regurgitating lots of your own ideas. So you need to basically come up with discussion and analysis which proves everything that you've come up with. All of your great ideas need to be cemented with either an idea from a text, with some sort of research, or with some sort of example at the very least about why it is what you've said is correct, and then work them all together so that you've got an argument, one that's cohesive, one that is strong, and one that really shows off how much you understand what it is you're talking about. Okay, so even if what you're saying and what you've understood is absolutely true, 100% irrefutably true in your own mind, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be 100% irrefutably true in someone else's mind. So you have to remember that. All right, first of all, what is a critical response question? Let's look at that process first. Let's look at actually what is a critical response question. A critical response question is one that either asks you to discuss, argue, and evaluate a text or an idea. It might require you to interpret ideas, language, techniques, or themes in your own eyes. It might be an extended response which is either developed in an essay or a long answer format and requires discussion and elaboration based on your own views. So it could be any one of those things. It doesn't necessarily have to be a big long answer. It can be a very short answer as well. So it's just really anything that requires you to use your own ideas and not necessarily skills like comprehension, which is basically just reading a text, finding an example of it, and then writing it in. So you're really developing your ideas in such a way that you are using your own intelligence, you're using your own understanding, and you're able to develop it. Okay, so now let's use critical interpretation to answer those questions. So the first aspect of using critical thinking as with any response is choosing where and how to use it. So you need to actually work out, okay, what am I using this for? So work out first how you want to make a critical judgment. Okay, so if I ask the question, how does Fred's dance convey the theme of hope? In my answer, I must find sections of the text which I can relate to this theme and then interpret them based on that idea of Fred's dance equals hope. So really you've got, basically you're trying to link those two ideas together, and now my critical analysis must be trying to look at sections of a text which is linking those two ideas together. Now obviously a theme is abstract, so it's going to require your own critical thinking and interpretation anyway. So that's what you've got to do. You've got to not only find examples and say, oh, that is hope, this is hope, this is hope, that's hope. You need to actually describe and discuss how it's doing it. Okay, so once you've worked out what your analysis will entail, you then need to work it into an argument. That is, you're basically developing your critical thought process, and you should use objective reasoning or facts, and so in this case from text, to prove your critical analysis as being correct. So in Fred Dance, this is proven by. So hope is shown through what? And then discuss how that evidence and how that idea you've just chosen is actually showing this idea of hope and how it's being relevant to this text. So really by having a line of argument, you're doing essentially what you'd be doing in an essay plan, which is in coming up with all these key ideas which are going to form a logical and cohesive sort of argument, and then finding facts to back them up. So you've got basically this thought process which is very smooth, very even, and which basically works like this line in the sand does, which is very clear. It goes through, it carves the path that you want your marker or your reader to follow when they are reading your response, which is basically that you want them to be able to follow your understanding, your ideas, in such a way that they too understand what your ideas and understanding are, and so in which case they can give you a mark for it. That's always very handy. Okay, so next bit, looking at discussion and evidence. So obviously, once you've got your line of argument, you need to be able to back it up with evidence. And with any piece of work, you need to sort of try and find some sort of quote, or at least paraphrase some ideas which will go along with it. Okay, so this develops it. It also really builds on your perspective. It adds upon your opinion. So, like this lady is doing, she's doing all this research to find all these sorts of things that will back up her ideas. So that's exactly what you need to do, is you need to look through your text, through all the research, all of the thought processing that you've done, all of these ideas that you've generated, and then work all of those pieces of evidence and discussion together. So you should be trying to blend the two as much as you can in such a way that you're building on what started as your opinion and you're basically making it into fact. Now, yes, it is fact purely by illusion, but it is still fact. So what I mean by illusion is it is your opinion which you're disguising as fact. And the way you're discussing it is you're using facts and using lots of facts, which you've just sort of dashed with a little bit of your opinion, which is basically the fact that you've selected them and the fact that you found those important enough to discuss is suggesting that those are, in your opinion, important to answering the question. So that is, I need facts from the text to back up my idea of hope and to sort of support what it is that I believe and what I think the text is trying to do. So really, it's just about being selective in selecting the parts of the text which you think are indicative of this idea of hope, and then being able to discuss why you believe that those sections of the text match that idea. And that's purely fact-based. The fact that it's your opinion is only through the point that you've selected those particular ideas and not something else. Next bit is evaluation, and this is basically the last step, but it's a very important step nonetheless, which is as you prepare your argument, you must self-evaluate, which means that you should be looking for points which are strengthy and not lengthy. Now, what that little rhyme indicates is you should be adding strength to your argument, not necessarily adding a lot of detail to it, which is not really necessary. So the aim of any response is not to write a big long thing which fills the word count. Your idea is to answer the question, and if you fill the word count, excellent. If you go over the word count, it's a little irritating, but still excellent that you've at least been trying to match the criteria of the exercise. So you must challenge yourself to do that. You must challenge yourself to break the temptation if you're one of those students who are a little bit lazy, and I know there are many of you out there, and focus on really trying to just put a little bit more effort. And it doesn't take a lot more effort to come up with something that's stronger rather than longer. And particularly, you'll be actually probably saving yourself a lot of work by choosing things which you can then discuss and have a lot of things you can talk about, rather than necessarily finding things that are going to fill up your word count and you're spending hours staring at a computer screen or an exam paper going, what do I write now? So by doing that and by going to depth in different things, you're actually allowing yourself to be really able to develop it and strengthen it and do all those things. And to ask yourself at the end, basically, does my analysis make sense and can I make it better? And that's a question you should always be asking yourself. By setting yourself your own standards, which, as I said, you should be trying to do, by basically challenging yourself, what you're doing is you're essentially allowing yourself to get the best out of yourself, but also that you are allowing yourself to not rely on others, that you're relying on your own judgment, your own opinion, and that you're allowing your own intelligence and your own ideas to come out. Now, no student out there does not have the capacity to do this. There are many of you out there who probably think that you can't do this. But let's put it this way. You can do it because of the fact that you do this every day. You make your own decisions. Now, whether that's a decision that you make what to have for lunch or you have for breakfast, that's a decision that you make. And when you construct an argument, you should be able to make the same sorts of decisions. about what works and what doesn't work. And then be able to check it through what you read, what you write, and what you respond to. And basically go, okay, is this the best it can be? If not, how can I make it better? And that's basically it for constructing the critical argument. So remember, it's a simple process of being very selective. That once you've got your ideas, you need to then work them into an analysis. You need to be able to use discussion and evidence to support them. And then, of course, you need to evaluate them. You need to make sure that what you've chosen is the best thing that you can possibly deliver. And otherwise, that's about it for critical thinking, and particularly in regards to constructing a response. And until next time, I'll see you later.